In this episode, we're going to talk about HR as a service. And we're going to sit down with Brandon Laws, Vice President of Marketing with Xenium HR, and talk about their suite of services and how you as a business owner can customize your experience by outsourcing payroll, HR, and benefits on a really easy to use platform. What I like about this is it allows you as a business owner in that startup or growth or even mature stage to work on your business rather than in your business and leverage your expertise as a business owner in the things that you really are good at. So stick around. On the other side, we're going to sit down with Brandon and talk about Xenium HR. Brandon, welcome to the channel, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to sit down and talk about Xenium, HR as a service, and the suite of services that you offer.
I'm glad to be here. It's fun to do a video podcast.
Yeah, perfect. Well, so as we talked off camera, the things that, from my perspective as a merger and acquisition advisor and kind of business consultant, is when I came across Xenium was kind of matching up both the life cycle of a business and the life cycle of an employee, because they're two different things, right? So life cycle of a business can be 30 years, from startup to growth, mature, exit planning, and then moving into actually exiting.
Right.
Life cycle of an employee, with how fast people move in today's society, could be year, 5 years, 10 years if you're lucky, and you really get, great people and they're really anchored into your business. But as you're growing your business, matching that life cycle to your employees becomes really important. The other thing that when I looked at your website and then when we sat down and chatted that I thought was really a great for small business owners is really around the concept of customizing HR, payroll, just the HR services and the suite of services that you have. One of the biggest challenges that I have when consulting with business clients is really the growth of the owner, right?
Right.
They start up small, they're doing accounting, they're doing HR, they've got 10 people. And, they may be making a good living,
right,
but they're not maximizing themselves, and they can find themselves trapped working in the business rather than on the business. And I think it's really important that they understand that there's a suite of offerings that Xenium offers that really kind of helps them grow and scale their business while having SMEs employed and at their fingertips.
Yeah. I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday where, from startup, you may have a few people and you start adding more heads, and the network effect of just the complexities of communication and just the breakdown of a business. If you don't get the necessary foundation in place, you can't really scale as a business.
Right.
And as the life cycle of a business, you said about 30 years, maybe when something happens, we just sell the business or something, whoever's going to buy that business probably wouldn't look at that business as valuable as if they had the infrastructure in place.
That's exactly true. And that's exactly right. And transferable.
Right.
Right. So in a lot of small businesses, you have one or two people that become key employees. And if this is what they handle, and they happen to be an owner,
all in their head.
Yeah, it's all in their heads. And that becomes an issue.
Yeah.
And it can be a transition issue. You may have to stay on for another 18 months just to transition that. But having this in place, I think, is really important. Well, how did Xenium get started? I mean, where did you guys come from? And just tell me a little bit of the story behind the company.
Yeah, this is before my time. We started in 2000, and before that, we were under Express Employment Professionals as Express Human Resources, branded in 2000, I think January 1st, 2000, as Xenium, and Xenium means a gift to its guest.
Yeah.
President at the time came up with, I think, looked in the dictionary and and ran across that and, okay, we need a name. Let's go for it. And so we started as a professional employer organization, and that's probably for another podcast, but it's a contractual agreement between an employer and Xenium, where we can do large group benefits and just really scaling the benefits along with the HR and the payroll piece.
Yeah.
So that's how we started. Since then, we've added, we're really heavy on the HR consulting side. We added benefits administration, and now we're what's called an ASO, an administrative services organization as well. And that's really where our growth is coming from the last probably decade.
Okay. So if asked you for your value proposition, we were talking about that off camera, kind of where your business segments are really growing, which payroll and HR, which are the two most important, I think, aspects for a small business, having those connected. I think in the past you've done more HR, but you kind of turned that value proposition around because that life cycle of that employee, onboarding, not so much recruiting, but just onboarding, benefits, payroll, it just becomes seamless for a small business.
Yeah. So what I'd say about that, there's a lot to unpack with this. So if a small employer is trying to manage their HR function, it gets complex when you start adding payroll, benefits. We want to build our culture. We need to develop our managers. And a lot of times they're piecemealing these things together through other vendors or different systems.
Right.
Xenium's value proposition is that the complexities of HR, payroll, and benefits are endless. They're always changing. It's annoying, and it's hard to focus on your business. And so why not have an organization like a Xenium where you can bring all those things into one place, under one roof is what we say, with a system, so a payroll processing system, benefits administration system.
So you've got a platform.
Platform plus people. We're heavy on the service side. So that's really where we're different from large organizations like an ADP and Paychex is that, they've got platforms where you're kind of left to do it on your own. We really have the white glove service that comes around with it, because what's beautiful is that if you can get payroll and benefits working, like no errors, and it's functioning well,
people are happy.
People are happy because their paychecks are right. And then you can focus on the important stuff, growing your people, retaining talent, finding new talent. And that's where the HR consulting really comes into play, and helping them look around the corner when it comes to compliance, because that's evolving. And as when the pandemic happened, employers started hiring people across the country, licensed in all 50 states. We've got a compliance team that really stays up on top of this and can help people look around the corner.
Companies that are going through growth, there's an obvious fit, from what we just talked about, the payroll, the onboarding, the HR, the benefits packages. But when you start getting into from growth to maturity, you run into different things, especially for the ownership group, where they might have an HR issue. They may have some counseling to do. They may have goal setting. They may have to fire somebody, and they need somebody to talk to outside of the organization that's a professional. And, I think that's an incredibly valuable piece of the service, or can be, for a lot of companies.
Yeah, it's really important. So that's where like a small employer, let's just say a size of 25. Things start getting really complex at 25 and beyond. I think there's laws that come into play at those sizes. And then the issues start bubbling up. You might have a complaint, or you might have a coaching conversation, and managers may have never been through something like that. So they have a dedicated HR business partner that they can rely on and call anytime, and can walk them through situations and be a thinking partner. And really, if they need to, we could be there with them and help them through a conversation with an employee, or do a termination if needed. And we come in and can do an investigation as well if it gets to that level, which it does. We have a whole employee relations and investigations team that handles specific things like that.
And I think that's really important, because having worked in the corporate world for 35 years, having an HR team that can come in and help diffuse the situation as that neutral third party, to not only protect the employee's benefits or rights, but make sure that the employer and the owner of the company are doing the right thing, and keep them out of legal trouble. Because if it goes into a legal situation, the costs can be just enormous and very, 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 very critical. You also offer a training component.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we have a great learning and development program. It's evolved over the years, but it's backed by Susie Weir on our team, who has developed much of the content and builds a really good program. So how that works is if organizations just, you want to get on-demand training or come to our live workshop to learn soft skill-based things, emotional intelligence and coaching conversations, how to give feedback, those sorts of topics, they can access those a la carte. Or have a subscription just for those things. However, we've built that into all of the programs that we have as well. So if somebody's engaged with us from an HR and payroll perspective, historically they've been able to access all of those for free. Not the on-demand, of course, that's relatively new that we started as an a la carte service, but all the live workshops. So you could send your whole leadership team to some of these live workshops and learn together.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, when I, again, going back to the business cycle for the owner, I did notice it somewhere in your description was that, helping people with transitioning mergers and acquisitions. And I'm like, so what does that look like? Because I can assume that it's basically managing that portfolio of services over to a new owner and doing that onboarding or doing that transition.
Yeah, so in my time, over the last 16 years as Xenium, I've seen a lot of changes, and we've had opportunities to work with startup level organizations and see their growth, their explosion, and our services change as they evolve at different levels and different needs, and so we flex and we rescope services based on what they need at the time. And sometimes they are so successful that they end up exiting and selling the business, and then when somebody else is coming in, they may have infrastructure already in place, and so they don't need Xenium anymore. But we'll help them through that and make sure that the transition is pretty seamless.
The technology that you guys have with your platform, because a lot of small businesses, whether you're 50 employees or less, they may have QuickBooks or some other type of platform. But talk a little bit about the technology and the platform ease of use that you guys can deliver to a small business.
Yeah, so that's the challenge we hear all the time with small businesses. That they've been running with QuickBooks, so they've been using a bookkeeper and payroll. And I get it. Like small businesses, they have resources that are very scarce, and so looking to other options seems daunting. What Xenium offers is that we have this platform. It's multi-client processing platform called Prism that we license. And we process payrolls on behalf of the clients, and they can use us as fully outsourced. Like we'll completely do all the administration for them, keying in new hires and all that, or they can have some self-service options on the administrative side. For employees, they get an employee web portal that they can access their pay stubs and see their paychecks and download them. They can update their direct deposit information through this portal. They can enter their time through the portal, access other benefits and help articles and things like that through this portal. And there's a web app too, or a mobile app, I should say.
Oh, is that right?
So they can access if they need to download the W-2 and they're doing the taxes, come January, February, they can download it right from their phone.
So what other services are on this portal other than just the payroll and HR?
Yeah,
or benefits, I should say.
Some benefit. They can do benefits enrollment. Come open enrollment, they can do their benefits enrollment online. They can access if an employer's opted in, like EAP services. We've got links to the appropriate vendors there. We've got member deals, which is awesome. It's a discount entertainment service.
Oh, really?
So they can go click through it, and then if they want to go to Disneyland or something, they can find some discounts through that. So there's a lot of neat things that are untapped on that portal, but employees have everything at the tip of their fingers.
Okay. And for the employer or the small business owner, how much control do they have over what the employee sees or accesses? Or is it just kind of an a la carte, or is it, just a standard offering?
Yeah, we have mostly a standard offering, but at the levels that they've opted into certain programs, we can turn things on and off and customize that experience. So it's this platform has allowed us to customize the experience based on the employer. So it's not a one size fits all. That is our secret sauce in this world of HR and payroll, is that we will flex and customize the service based on where they're at as a company.
So easy, seamless for both the employee and the employer.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And I think that's again, one of the things that we talked about off camera, and I looked online at your website, which, by the way, is phenomenal. You guys do a great job. Just that makes it easy for a lot of, because owners, especially in today's world, they're wearing so many hats. So if you can make this seamless and easy for them to use, it's just one less thing that they've got to do.
Yeah. What I always find, and I think I've said this before, I'll say it again. As a small business, you often are piecemealing things together, and it's you're managing multiple vendors, and everything's just so scattered. And why not bring everything together so the systems and the people talk to each other? It just makes it so much easier.
So what's the typical profile of a client that you guys serve?
It's varied over the years. We used to say it was like 5 or 10 employees to 50. We brought on some clients that are 900, 1,000, 1,500, over the year. But that's not a typical profile. I would say our sweet spot is 10 to 200 employees.
Okay.
And at the 50 employee level is typically when we see that they're like, we need an HR professional, and we don't know if we need to hire in-house or not. We have some employers that engage us at 100, 150 employees, and they might have an HR person, but the complexities of HR are endless, really. And so that one person, unless they're a jack of all trades, or have endless amount of time to work on compliance and training and coaching and all of those things that HR people are amazing at, they need Xenium on their bench. They need an extra hand or a resource, and a consultant is a great way to do that, because we can wrap around internal HR resources as well.
So on interfacing with a small business, that kind of brings me to a point of, do you usually interface with like the operations manager, office manager? I mean, where's that interface?
We typically interface with office manager, sometimes an HR professional, director level, VP level if it's a larger organization. If they're really small, it could be a president, CFO, owner. So it really varies at the life cycle of the employer, but we typically those profiles.
Okay. Well, Brandon, thanks. I really appreciate this. How can a business owner get a hold of Xenium? I mean, what's the best way to do it?
The easiest way is honestly to go to the website, and we've got a big button at the very top right that says schedule a call. There's a form you fill out. It'll say what you're interested in. That actually goes to me, and then I route it to our business development team, and they'll be in touch within hours.
So what can they expect from a call?
So the call, we call it an overview. It's truly a deep dive and listening into what they need, like try to understand where they're at as a business. And then we will try to build and customize a scope of services that will fit where they're at as a company.
Great. Well, again, thanks. I just can't say enough about small businesses and owners really working on their business rather than in their business. And whatever you're an expert at doing or why you started your business, you're passionate about. HR, payroll, these guys are passionate about it, and they can take a lot of that burden off. So, Brandon, thank you very much. Appreciate
you having me.
As you can tell, Brandon's pretty passionate about Xenium HR and their product of suite and services, particularly HR as a service for privately held businesses. So I hope you got something out of this episode, and I'm going to leave Brendan's information below so you can contact him directly and or Xenium to set up a time to talk about your needs as a small business owner. I think the big takeaway for me is this is another area where contacting and contracting with an expert in these areas allows you to maybe outsource some of those things that your office manager or you may not be really an expert in, but give your employees a better experience and allow you to leverage your expertise in growing your business. So with that, I hope you got something out of this episode. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button. And with that, we'll see you on the next episode.